Alright guys, well, I got the quick covers back from paint and it is time for install. But first, we need to get rid of all of the crap on the bottom, all of the loose rust, any dirt, anything that's going to impede install needs to come off, because this needs to sit nice and flush. And if there's any rust kind of pulled up or bent up, we need to get rid of that first. So I'm going to start off with a hammer and we're going to take off all the loose junk on the bottom of the rocker so that this will sit flush. You don't want to have any loose rust because we're going to put some rust preventative on. And you don't want any of this stuff getting in the way. You want nice clean metal for that rust preventative stuff to go on to hopefully preserve what's left. You also don't want any pieces bent downward because that's going to prevent the cover from sitting the way it's supposed to. So anything sticking down is going to bend back and forth and break off, or if you can, bend it up inside. We want this cover to sit as flush as possible. Not a very pleasant process hammering at your truck, but it's a necessary step to making it look good. Looks like right in here I've got some solid metal left, which is really nice. But everything back here, all thin, there's nothing left of it. Alright, so the next step is going to be applying the included 3M adhesive. You do get a really nice sized roll. I already did the other side and I'm still left with a ton. And the other side is definitely not coming off. It's been on the truck for about 3 weeks now. I haven't gotten around to doing the other side until now, but it's held up really well so far. By the end of the video or in the next one, I'll definitely show you guys how they're holding up and how they're, I guess, reacting to the weather, road conditions, rock chips, etc. But definitely the 3M adhesive is holding it on just fine, and you won't have any issues with it not sticking as long as you prep the surface properly. So they do include a little figure. It's a little bit hard to see, but in the instructions they do include, it's got little lines on where you should put the 3M adhesive. As long as you put it there, it's going to hold just fine. So I'm going to take care of that right now and then show you what it looks like. They do actually recommend that you apply the 3M adhesive before painting these or taking them to a body shop to have them painted. But unfortunately, due to time constraints, I did have to have them painted before. But like I said, the other side is holding really well. I didn't have any issues with them sticking. The painters I took them to over at TML Auto in Greenville, Wisconsin, they did a fantastic job painting these, and he didn't have a whole lot of overspray. So he really did a good job, and it still sticks well. long as you follow the instructions, these go on really, really well. I was very impressed. It's a little bit tedious applying the sticky adhesive, but it sure works well. Alright, so here are our finished results. You can see all the lines of tape, hopefully. So that's all the 3M adhesive. And I did go a little bit heavier than their sheet, but I figure a little extra won't hurt. And I still have a little bit of extra adhesive, so they definitely supply enough in the kit to get the job done. I've got a couple of products that we're going to use today. So we've got 10,025 wet black. This is just a, well, it says penetrating cavity wax, but we're going to spray this up inside all of the sections that we can't get to with this jar and the paintbrush. But this stuff's just going to kind of get into all the nooks, the cracks, crevices, try to help preserve what's there. Alright, she's empty. This next product, it's Valvoline full synthetic grease, but this is basically the equivalent to the massive container that they recommend in the instructions. I was not going to go out and buy an entire drum of grease, but this stuff will work fantastic. It's really, really thick. It is definitely a little bit messy, but we're going to try and coat all of basically the entire surface that's going to get covered up. Try to get it as inside as much as possible, because this is what's going to try and help save what's left of the metal. But I'm going to wipe this down first, get any dirt off, so that we can try to get this right onto the bare metal. I'm going to start applying this grease to the underside of the rockers. It does get really greasy and really messy very quick, so you're going to want some old clothes on or something that if you make a little mess, you'll be okay. Also, an old junky paintbrush is really helpful, because this stuff will not come off of the paintbrush, and you will have to scrap it when you're done. Make sure to apply a nice thick coat, because this is what's going to protect this metal for the rest of its life. The next step is going to be removing this trim, because that quick cover is going to get tucked underneath here so that it's a seamless transition between metal and plastic. It's going to go underneath this weather stripping So you're gonna have to pull this up a little bit and tuck it back here as well. Alright, perfect. Now we're going to need to clean all of this off because this is where our 3M adhesive is going to stick, and that is the only thing holding it on. They do recommend that you remove the doors for this part, but I found on the other side it's not really necessary. It definitely makes it a little bit easier, I can only assume, but it's an extra step that I didn't want to have to mess with. But in order to protect the covers we put it on, I'm going to put some painter's tape right here so that this doesn't scratch the cover. Alright, so the next step is going to be fitting this guy on, and it should be pretty easy, but we basically have to slip it underneath the rear door and then up and around, and we should be able to kind of tuck it in. And then once it's kind of in place, we're going to have to pull back all the little pieces from the 3M adhesive tape, but we're only going to pull up a little bit so that we can line everything up and then pull it off. We don't want it to prematurely stick where we don't want it. Alright, so you do want to start with the back of the cab because we want it to sit perfectly around this cab corner. So we're going to get this all lined up, pull the tape back, and then move forward. Alright, so I got my pliers. We're going to pull back on 3M adhesive so that we can get the little red part off. Alright, so I've got all of the tape peeled back, just enough so that we can put it in place, and then pull the rest of it back. So we're going to make sure that this is lined up perfectly, and then we can start pulling the tape to release it. The one in between the cab and the bed can be really difficult to get to, but that pliers that we used earlier makes it a breeze. So you're going to want to push this in as best as possible. This plastic here, this is going to get pulled nice and tight when we put the weather stripping back in place. So don't worry if it's sticking a little bit out from where it needs to be. Alright, now we just have to put all the weather stripping back in place and we should be good to go.